So I am going to talk to you about Annie. Annie is our oldest of three. She's 11, and she has a disease that is genetic and degenerative, and it is called MPS. That stands for Mucopolysaccharidosis, and I don't even know how long it took for me to learn how to say that correctly. But she has MPS type 3, subtype A, and it's also called Sanfilippo, named after the guy who discovered what this particular disease was. Her disease has been defined as a childhood Alzheimer's, which is a pretty good descriptor of what the implications are neurologically, but doesn't really round out the kind of physical regression that happens. So Annie developed normally until I want to say she was like 3.5 or 4. She was a little bit behind in her speech, but like she was being like a typical 3-year-old. So we were doing, we had a couple of like kind of off things happen with her that pushed us to get some genetic testing done. When we met with the geneticist, he didn't really seem to think, like, giving her the once over, that there was anything to be concerned about. But he said, let's just go ahead and do like this one simple test before we send you off to a different physician. So we did the test and that came back positive, and he assured us that that didn't necessarily mean anything. It was a very finicky test, but let's go ahead and do some blood tests just to make sure and rule everything out. So they did a blood test, and then they called me with the results of that on November 14th of 2011. Emma was exactly 6 months old, and Annie was exactly 3.5, and they said the words Mucopolysaccharidosis. I had never heard of that, didn't know what it was, and started to write it down so that I could Google it when I got off the phone with the genetic counselor. And she said, okay, off the phone with me, like, you're not planning on Googling it or anything, are you? And she said, it's a pretty bad diagnosis. And I said, well, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to do. Of course, like any normal person Googles everything. And she said, so then she decided to go ahead and tell me what it was, and that the last child that they had seen that had that disease had passed when she was 6. And I don't remember much past that other than saying, can we come out tonight and talk to you guys? So it was later in the afternoon, and this doctor was an hour and a half away from us, but they said, yeah, we'll keep the office open so that you can come out. So we got Emma up from her nap. I called Ryan at work. I'm sure that's a phone call that he'll never forget either. And went and picked Annie up from preschool and took her to Portland and learned about what this disease was and what it was going to mean for Annie's life and what it was going to mean for us as her parents. So the nuts and bolts of MPS are that she is missing an enzyme that does some recycling of these particular materials. And so instead of the cells accepting this material, using it, and then recycling it, it just keeps getting stored and stored and stored, causing progressive cell damage all over in her brain, all over her body. And so the skills that she learned up until she was 3.5 or 4, she steadily started to lose. So when she used to be able to ride her bike and run around and talk and write and color and eat, just steadily over the last 8 years, she's lost pretty much all of those abilities. They've been a slow enough regression that sometimes we had kind of forgotten what she had lost until we would see a memory pop up on Facebook or see a video in our camera roll, and we would say, oh my goodness, I had forgotten that she had been able to do that, or wow, that was a long time ago. So unfortunately the typical lifespan for a child with Sanfilippo is mid-teens. So we're already in the late stages of this disease with her. There's no way to really gauge at what point we are in this disease. We've had fellow MPS parents who've lost their children at 9, 10, 11. There's some kids who are in their late teens. So our goal really for Annie's life has been to make every day as joy-filled as possible. We still have all of the typical parenting struggles, and you just get caught up in the busyness of life. But the knowledge that Annie's life is short has really grounded us and caused us to cut away at the things that really are not to serve the purpose in her life like we want it to. I was really hesitant to share this because partly I'm a fairly private person, and I don't typically process my emotion around other people. I like to do that work by myself, and then I'll present the solution to things to people. And I think that a lot of times comes across as me being an incredibly strong person, which is not true. The truth is that I cry a lot. I cry pretty much every day and have a really hard time with a lot of these decisions. Like when I talked about making an appointment to go talk to the palliative care team. A palliative care team is a team that is going to help you make decisions about your child of life care before hospice is called in. So there's no easy way to do this. No parent ever wants to do this for their child, but that's just our reality. So I want our business to not be totally separated from this incredibly powerful and real thing that's happening in our lives. As depressing as this diagnosis is, it also has changed my life forever. And the majority of it has been a positive change. I'm so grateful for it. It's so hard, but it's also the best thing ever. So I want to be more open with you guys about the things that we're going through. I want to encourage you in the things that in regards to walking through suffering and having a healthy perspective on life. And just, I've grown so much, and I don't want to speak on Ryan's behalf for the things that he's learned, but I will be as open as I feel comfortable with on here, communicating to you the things that have changed in me and the way that it has grown me into the person that I am now. I'm so grateful for all the things that have happened in my life, all the people that I've met as a result of this diagnosis. And it's hopeful. It's hopeful from here. We know what the end is for Annie. No, we know what the next phase is for Annie. We don't know what it is for ourselves, but we are looking forward to it with hope and joy. All of that being said, I'm so thankful for each of you that are here. So many of you have been so encouraging with this small amount that I have shared with you up to this point about Annie. But definitely keep us in your thoughts and your prayers. I appreciate all the messages. And if you know somebody that can benefit and be encouraged by our story, share it with them. And also, soon I will tell you about what this looks like for our business going forward. Oh man. See, now you're seeing all sides of me. Are you so glad you're here? But really, the shift that I've kind of been hinting at in our business is very closely connected to this story. So I wanted to tell this piece of our story in our life first, and then share with you guys what that's going to mean for our business moving forward another day. So I love you all very much. Talk to you later.